Ways of Steel takes place in the United States in the middle of the 19th century when the American government encouraged private companies through ladder, soft credit, and tax incentives to develop the rail network in their territory, making it a great deal at that time, and that's when we entered in the game, as the owner of one of those big companies. Where we have the game organized for 5 players, but it can be played from 2 to 5. The main board represents the American territory. It was based on an old map that contained the railroads of the time and some projects. Cities are represented by 2 tiles that are already printed on the board for a basic game, but can be changed for advanced games. The top tile represents the city, where we can do business. The bottom tile represents the station that we can build, with a bonus and a score. We are represented on the board by a meeple, and in one advanced game we can play with 2 meeples. One of them represents your partner. When building railways, they must be built adjacent to your meeple. When building stations, they must be built in the city where your meeple is, if there is space for it. The station must cover that space on the left, which will give one immediately bonus. There are other important regions in the game. On the right we have the market, where it is possible to buy and sell the game resources that are steel and wood. The amount or cost is shown on the left. Another important region is above the board, where the upgrade action takes place. It is possible to buy rail trucks that allow you to have more wagons, hire specialists, and buy wagons. To the left of the board are objective cards. They will give you points for some goals and can trigger the end of the game. Where we have the players area, with its individual board, wagons, specialists, stations and railways that can be built with their costs alongside. Other actions that may have costs are shown above. Well, how the game works. The turn of the player takes place in 2 steps. In the first step, the pawn must be moved in a straight line as many spaces as he can or wants. In the second step, the actions will be carried out in a second line, not being able to return the same direction as in the first step. Let's take one example. On the first step, the red player decides to move the pawn to the top line. In the second step, he will perform the actions, starting with this zone, where he can produce steel and build a railroad, and as he cannot return, in this example, he must go to the left, producing another steel, making an income action, and finally a business action in the city. Let's go to another example. A round has passed and it's the red player's turn again. He decides to move his action pawn just one space to the right, make an income action, and from here he can continue to go to the right and make an action to produce steel, produce one more steel and a railroad. Or, after the income action, he can go down, doing the action of building a railroad and this special action, where the player can choose a market action or an upgrade action. The player on his turn can still choose to use one or more single-use tokens, which must be used before or after the main action. When the tokens are used, they must be turned downwards, showing negative points that will be discounted at the end of the game. On the left side of the board, we still have the player aids. In the first, there is an explanation of the main action. In the second, we have all the actions that are present in the wagons. In this, There is an explanation of the single root tokens and some different bonus that can be received when building a station. And finally, as the game ends, there are 3 situations that cause the end of the game, and we have 6 ways to score. Well, that was a quick overview of the game. I hope it's possible to understand how the game works, and have fun!